Mahalo nui, Mehana, and aloha mai kākou. I'm Teresa Makuakane Drexel, and Sylvia Hussey. We'll be facilitating this particular panel session on Ike Hawaii. As Mehana mentioned, we're gonna look or have the panelists talk about their Ike, what they've learned from their families, what they've learned from the places they come from, what they've learned outside of their families. We want them to feel free to talk about all of those. We selected them because one of the commitments that Keauma Lama Lama made early on was to honor the Ike of people from all over Hawaii. Sylvia's Ohana is from Kohala. She was born and raised in Kohala. I'm from the island of Hawaii also, born and raised in East Hawaii. My family is from Puna. And as we were talking about our experiences, her mama is going to be 96 soon. My mama's going to be 91. Both are still alive. Both were raised by their grandparents in their respective communities. Olelo, they're mana leo, both. And yet their Ike is very much influenced by their respective ohana and the places that they grew up in. And so we wanted to make sure that we don't go over and say I go over to Kohala and say, you guys supposed to do this way, a certain practice this way, or somebody else comes and tell us how we're supposed to practice. We want to honor, we want to respect the uniqueness of each place. And I think that what you'll hear from these thought starters, and that's what we're calling them, they're providing us some thoughts about our next discussion. I won't read their bios, but I will introduce them at this time. Sabra Kauka was born on Oahu and currently lives on Kauai. And we chose them because of the diversity of where they live or where they grew up. Ho'oipo Pānākea was born on Oahu and also has ties to Kauai and currently lives on Oahu. Liko Ho, born and raised, family for generations in Hakipu'u, in Ko'olaupoko, and Makalapua was raised on Oahu and on Kauai and currently lives on Hawaii Island and has for a number of years with her ohana. And Earl Kafa'a was born and raised on Molokai and currently lives on Oahu. So again, what we've asked them to do is to talk about their one or two, their Ike, and Sylvia's gonna read the question that we hope they will respond to. Mahalo.
You hope.
We hope. So as Teresa said, we want to focus on their sharing of experiences from their life experiences, professional experiences, as thought starters for us to think about what implementing actionable items for Goal 2 might look like. So the first question that we've asked our panelists to think about is, what does your current practice of actualize Ike, amplify Leo, and advance Hana Hawaii look like? So maybe we'll start with Sabra.
Maika ino mahalo. Aloha kakahia kakako. Aloha. Maika malie o kamawai luna. Kamawai lani. I'd like to very quickly acknowledge the many wonderful people who came from Kauai with me this morning. Auntie Ihi Kaniakua, she came yesterday, Kaniali'i. Yeah. And Haunani Seward, who was a po'o at Ke Kula Ni'ihau Ke Kaha for many years. Hedy Sala, is Hedy here? I didn't see her yet, but I heard she was coming. Naomi Yokotake from Ha'ena side, Naue, Debbie Grady, and our younger contingent, Kaleo Stevens, who puka from the first class of Kulakaio Puni on Kauai and is teaching at Kanaka School, Mahalo. And our youngest member, Kikoa Tango, who puka from Kamehameha and Ke Kula Nui. He taught 1 year at Ke Kaha and in Hawaiian Studies program, and now he's going to be full-time at Waimea Canyon School teaching Olelo Hawaii. Aloha no. Okay. So, and then I must also acknowledge my kupuna, Violet Ka'iwa Kaleho'a, who hanau oia ma Waihe'e Maui, Miriam Kauhimaka, hanau oia ma Kaupo Maui. So two tutu lady, Mana Leo Olua from Maui, Tutu Man, Akiona Kauka from Waipio, Moko Keawe, Arthur Nihi Ula o Kalani Horswell. He was hanau here on Oahu. He also lived on Kauai, so there was some influence there. From both of my tutu kane had uahala, really by the time I was born, but the tutu wahine were still living, and they were both mana leo. So we always heard Olelo Hawaii, yeah? And the thing is, when I graduated from Kamehameha in 1963 with his papa, Calvin Ho, 52, half century ago, gang. And I am so happy and so proud to see the tremendous growth on this campus. Because young people, at that time, we were not allowed to do a stand-up hula. Okay? In a Hawaiian school, I had to go outside Kamehameha for do the stand-up hula from Auntie Iolani. We could only do hula noho. We couldn't oli. Auntie Nona Beamer was the one who went puka through that when she oli in front of the board of directors, and they fired her for 30 days. Hired her back, finally came to their senses. So I mahalo Auntie Nona as well, for leading the charge, and many of them, I think it was, it was your class. It was your class with Casimeros, and all of them, that class. They went right behind Auntie Nona and went puka through with the olelo and the hula and everything. But the specific question to us was, how is this Ike being continued, and particularly on Kauai? And I must say that hula is alive and well on Kauai. Naomi teaches hula. She teaches mele. And the second thing is to malama our vahipana, our sacred sites, that hui maka'ainana o makana are pushing for traditional resource management of their areas up there in Halelea, Hanalei side. The fellows who are working down at Kane Iola Uma in Koloa, who are restoring that sacred site, huge progress. Pau'ula Ula, also known as Russian Ford at Waimea River, and the effort in Nualolokai, 23 years now, to Malama, to return the kupuna, and mahalo nui to Hui Malama for their early efforts in leading that cause. And at this stage of my life, I'm concentrating very much on bringing in the next generation, putting them in place so that they're not afraid to recruit chief, to organize the whole trip, food, people, permission slips, medical, all that kind, get them all in order. And we have 2 trips going in back-to-back next week. So through all of my work is in Hawaiian studies. I teach at a private school, K-5 plus high school hula. And at that private school, I have the blessing of having a building that's totally dedicated to Hawaiian culture and the arts. With all my public school friends and my work in public school, I would like to see every public school have a center for Hawaiian culture, language, and the arts. Dedicated to that. So that every year these kupuna don't have to move from Lumi to Lumi. They don't have to move their ukana. They don't have to move. And that the hamana come there to learn from them. This past June, we were in Mokuleia, Camp Mokuleia, and we looked all at Wailua area. Oh, there was one school there that has a hale dedicated to Hawaiiana. All of these beautiful things of Hawaii, and that's how it should be at every school. So, Lapua a Pauahi, yeah? All you fellows, mahalo nui. So we always learn through mele and pule. It's always sang in Hawaiian, and we always prayed in Hawaiian, and we always heard it. We heard it with words of encouragement from our tutu. We heard it when they scold us. And you know that eye. All they gotta do is look at you, yeah, and you go, what I did? Yeah, so you know. But to advance Hana Hawaii, a place to do it, dedicated place. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo.
Aloha. I'm Ho'oipo, not Ho'oipo-ipo, although I do enjoy Ho'oipo-ipo. Yeah. Okay, so I'm here. One of my best friends from Hanabata days is Kathleen Brizuela. She is married to a Spanish man, and she's a haole girl I grew up with, but she teaches me Olelo Hawaii, and I love it. She knows more than me, and I gotta try and catch up with her. So mahalo, Koaniani. Thank you for being with me today. Let's see. What does my practice of actualizing Ike, amplifying Leo, and practicing Hana, advancing Hana look like? Okay, I've only been in public education for a few years. I mean, only 2 years, and I have my own. It's a therapeutic classroom. I call it the Taro Peace Center, T-A-R-O-P Center, and I got that from Hawaiian Force. I just borrowed it because it just sounds better because we go to the Lo'i a lot, so we see Taro a lot. So I think Taro Peace Center sounds a little better than therapeutic classroom. So I'm a special ed. I'm in special ed. Yeah, calotherapy. That's right. That would be even better. But I like it's TC they call it, you know. So I got to go with the TC, Taro Peace Center. And I use this Aloha Quest learning journey is what I call my curriculum, which comes to me from my grandpa and my grandma, Joseph and Elizabeth Pa, and my mother, Harriet Panakea, and my Auntie Annabelle and my Uncle Thomas. It's all from them. Everything I learned is from them, and then adding everything that I've learned along the way. I'm kind of like a sponge for information. I like to try and share and contribute to the extent that I can. But my grandpa, he had a way of teaching that was fun. I mean, everything we did, he always made it fun. So fun, to me, is what's important. Hana Hau'ole school I just went to, interestingly, confirms all that by research. So my grandpa would play cribbage with me to teach me math. I would... when we're driving around in the car, we read the license plate, and there's my math again, 15-2, 15-4, you know, all of that. And he made me do it, and I couldn't win. He wouldn't let me win ever. I had to beat him. And when I finally did, well, we would never go to sleep until I let him win. So that is how it went. So that's what I learned from my grandpa. I learned a lot of things. He made even weeding fun. In Kalihiwai, he made everything fun. I mean, even like when the centipede bit him, he somehow taught me a lesson from that, you know. But he made sure I never got bitten by a centipede. So mahalo to this day, they bit him, but they didn't bite me. Okay, so he taught me many, many things. Because I grew up with him on Ihe Street for the first 5 years, along with my mom. And then when he retired, we went to Kalihiwai, and that was the home of my grandmother, Elizabeth Amu, and she came from the Mauliola line. And I learned plenty from them. So they olelo Hawaii, but they didn't teach me how to speak, just scolded me, you know, how to speak, and like she said, gave you the eye. And you have all that, but basically they were trying not to teach me Hawaiian, and they would put me a lot in the books. I mean, they had books coming to my house all the time, and so I spent a lot of time doing that and kind of didn't even learn how to cook as well as my cousins. I grew up also with Auntie Annabelle's 6 boys, and that was like, is a blessing for me to be growing up with 6 boys, and they know how to cook, and they know I don't cook so well, and today they're still trying to teach me how to cook. When I go visit them, and we go there annually to celebrate my auntie's birthday. She was born on July 4th, and I was supposed to be born on her day, but I was born on July 5th, because someone wasn't there to sign the papers for my cesarean. So why am I saying all this? I'm just trying to share that my TC boys, they have anger management issues. They suffer from not only ADHD like I do, they also suffer from, they have like more than one issue. They have what they call oppositional defiant disorder. So in order to work with them, because we're special ed, you have to be very careful. You have to apply accommodations by the law. And so when certain other teachers might not understand their issue, they might see their behavior as being rude and obstinate and horrible and disrespectful and all of that. But you have to see between the lines with them and see where they came from and meet them where they're at. And so I try to, I start off with like aloha, the five rules in our classroom, ALOHA, and what those values are. And the critical thinking part of that is, okay, what is aloha-like behavior? Is that aloha-like behavior that you're doing right now? And why isn't it? You know, and that to me is critical thinking, when they can identify what's the wrong and what's the right. I use a lot of the laws because I learned that. The law of the splintered paddle, so that they can learn to have respect for themselves as they learn how to respect Kamehameha, and the heroes like Earl Kava'a, and I mean, there's contemporary ones and there's older ones, and I can go on, but I think I'm Pau, right? Mahalo.
Mahalo. Liko?
Aloha mai kākou. Ono liko. Ninau nui na hoi ke ia. Laulano hoi ka pani paho ke ia ninau. Au kalele maka na mea nui o ke ia ninau. It's a big question to answer in 3 minutes. Yeah, we can see the whole moana out there too. But I think that the best I can offer at this point is kind of a perspective of what Ike Hawaii I think means to me, and I think that context, is one of the important things, and I think that's been brought up earlier today several times, and it's really good that we try to look at that perspective of where we are today in that bigger context of things. Sometimes, I teach at Windward Community College, Hawaiian Studies and Hawaiian Language, and we teach about our history, and sometimes I talk about our history, leading up to 1893, right? Okay, and then after 1893, we have kind of a puka, in a sense, Of course, we were still here, but in a big way, we were without voice, yeah. And of course, education was a key piece of that. No longer being able to speak Hawaiian or to even use Hawaiian names in the public education context. And so to me, that history went on for a long while until we come to the 1960s and 70s, and that's around where I entered the scene. More in the 70s, I guess. I think we got to bring birth certificates, because some guys was fudging their dates earlier. I think Mehana. Where's Mehana? Okay, but anyways, to me, I look at that time, sometimes we call that the Hawaiian Renaissance, yeah, the 1970s. But sometimes I use the analogy of a person, and as a people, if we think of our people as a person, I would say that, after the overthrow, we lose the po'o in a sense, yeah, a capacity to speak and to make decisions. And in the 1970s, 60s, and 70s, it's not a hard date, but we have a time when we start to reawaken from that state that we were in, which I would say is almost like a coma state. We weren't able to be aware of, and then to have voice. And so when we reawakened in the 1970s, I think for me, the first thing that we looked for as a people was our voice. Where is our voice? And in that time, it was a very difficult question to answer because, like was said earlier, very few people, or a very small percentage of Hawaiians spoke Hawaiian, yeah. And so we looked for our voice, and the place that it was still heard was in the music. And so Eddie Kamai, Gabby Pahinui, were part of that searching that eventually became the next generation of singers and poets. And I think that to go from there now, from regaining our voice in the music form to the 1980s, regaining our voice not only in the recorded documents, not only in the mele that were already written, but now regaining that capacity to write new mele was begun. And I think we sit among those who did that work, yeah, and continue to do that work. And so I guess for me, it's important, for us to realize that even though our percentage is still, under 10, yeah, under 10%, people being able to speak Olelo, we've come a far way. We've come a far way, and I think we should be proud of that. That accomplishment of bringing our Olelo, in a sense, our voice back from the dead, or very close, is major. And I would say that, for me, Ike Hawaii, again, it's a huge question to answer, yeah? What is Ike Hawaii? You guys are Ike Hawaii, fellow panel members are Ike Hawaii. But I would say, and I agree with, what has been said before, listening to our kupuna in as many ways as we can is the foundation of Ike Hawaii. And I congratulate all of you for all the work that you have done and continue to do in that. And I think that we're going in a good direction. Still plenty challenges. And I better stop there.
Mahalo. Makaloku.
Aloha kākou, e nā hoa kumu, nā hoa makamaka, nā kupuna no hoi. Aloha kākou. No keia ano kumuhana o ka Ike Hawaii, no'o wau ka pōmaikai o ko'u ola, me ka hana i ana o'u, e ko'u mau kupuna wahine. E lua ao o'u, o ke kupuna ma Kauai, he Hawaii o ia. A laila ka au ko makua kane he pukiki piha o ia. No laila o ko ano, ya ke ano ka ike, ke ano ka nohona, a ka kela ano pilina mo upuna a me ke kupuna. O ia ka mea I vai ai ko u wa o pio, ko u wa kolohe no hoi. E hiki no ke imi I ka ike e pono ai I ko u ola. A laila nana no hoi I na vai o ka nohona. Yeah. O ka pili ohana. Kela la ke ia la. Yeah, ke kako o aku, ke kako o mai, ka nuku aku, ka nuku mai. A ka na o ka nana ana I na mea koi o kela ano pilina. Yeah. Nui ka maikai o na kupuna ma ka hana lima. Yeah. Aole hiki ke noho vale. Pono I hana. I na manawa a pau. Loa ka hana, loa ke kuliana. No laila, oia ke kahi o na mea nui ma ka nana ana. Ke ia manawa, I loko o ka ho'o na awau ana ia kako iho, I loko o ke kula. Aka, e liki me ka panela mua. O kela mau kula, yeah, he mau ala kela no ka ike o ka ohana. Yeah, no ka ho'ola, no ka ho'ala, ia kako iho. No laila, mai nana aku, yeah, nana mai ia kako iho. Ke ano o ka hana. Growing up, we really were fortunate to have our kupuna. And not just our own kupuna within our ohana, but the many, many kupuna who came out of the woodworks, really, from Kuaina, that had not been able to live as Hawaiians because their language was suppressed, but they knew that there would be a time, and again, they brought it back and helped us to start at the Punana Leo Honolulu, to start the Kulakaia Puni, Owaiao, Anuenue, and all the schools that have come. It's from our kupuna, yeah? And we're just the link to help actualize the Ike that they, pai, yeah, that they encouraged us, they gave us the kuleana, and it's up to us to heed their words, to remember the history of being silenced, and not to allow that ever to happen again. So that's where we are very, very fortunate, you know, to be in this time at this place, because our progress is phenomenal. My current work at Kahua Viola as an Indigenous teacher education program, we're one of 13 teacher education programs, but we're the only one who teaches through the Hawaiian language on a cultural foundation in order to have our schools in all the islands. Because as good as our programs can be, it's because of that classroom teacher, the kumu, I loko o ka lumipapa, me na keiki, me na opio. Ya, o kela hoili ike, ka holu ana, ya, I ka maoli o la Hawaii. So back in the 90s, as our children were coming through, yeah, and looking at what is the hua of all of this? What does that hua look like, and why is it so important? And as we gathered with Mana Leo and Kupuna, and the concept, a very old concept of Mauliola emerged, and the Kumuhonua Mauliola as an educational philosophy emerged, and really has helped us to identify, yeah, ke kanaka Hawaii, ka Mauliola I loko o kako, that life force that makes us who we are. Kupuna Kawahi Paula told us, o kako noia, yeah, because we have our olelo, kapiri uhane, yeah, the pule, the noi, that whole ano of who we are and our connection to Akua, to Aumakua, to our Aina. Our Ike Ku'una, all that has been passed on to us. And then how we act, yeah? How are we gonna act? Okay, all of that makes us who we are. So when we educate ourselves, when we educate our keiki and our mo'opuna, the framework that we have and that the work that has gone into it by many of you folks here, the Nahonua Mauliola, is an awesome framework. It's so awesome. And the Alaike. So there's all of these things that the work for the last decades have emerged. And so we've been very fortunate at Kikulo Kamakau, Kahua Viola, Kahaka Ulo Kilikolani, and many, many other programs to take some of these very basic concepts that our kupuna have left us and to say, okay, what does that mean in the classroom? And for me, how do I prepare our next generation of kumu, of teachers who can help to cultivate that in themselves so that they can in turn help our young people to become who they are. Okay? And so the language, as it was said earlier, is the key. Yeah, o ka olelo, ke ka'au, ka maoli. We need to be sure and very distinct that anybody can speak. I mean, we're all alive. As long as we're alive and we have the capacity, yeah, we can all be learners and we can all be teachers. But to do it through our own olelo, yeah, we need to pai each other, that it's never too late. It's not just for your keiki. It's not just for your keiki. It's no kako no ia. O oia ka mana o kupuna kawahi Paula, and he oia I ono. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Good turn. Yeah, right.
E liko. Ke nanane ka poe o ke e wahi. Ka poe o ke u ilo ka poe o ke e wahi. Pe hala ka poe o ke e wahi. Aoli hiki wau ke iki no lako. Pe ka poe o ke e wahi. I can see that the people over here are beautiful. But I asked them, what about the people who are sitting to my back? Are they beautiful? Aole make wawa e noho mi keia noho. I don't want to sit in this seat. Okay, ka noho I haawi aku no ka poe I omaka o ka keia. I'm sitting in this seat and in this position because of the people who made this. I choose to do other. Liko, come sit with me, Liko.
As the kupuna card.
Actualizing Ike.
Actualizing Ike.
O keia ka noho ana o ka poe ka waka hiko e a ana no na poe I holohi ana mai. This is how our ancestors taught. E iki aku ya oko ka hele helena ka uia o ko oko hele helena I ka ho a ana ko oko ike. That kupuna, we can see your faces. The reason why we want to see your faces is because some of you are going to fall asleep. No na poe e hio moe ana. Okay, hey bro, wake up. Ua hana o ia makamokupuni o Molokai I ka wahi o hala wa Molokai. O ku'u anakala, e huki ana ku'u wawa I mai ka pua o ku'u makua hine. And my mother spread her legs and my uncle pulled me out and I came into this world in Halava. Malela no ka ike o ke ia kanaka o kawa'a. That's where I learned. E ke kani ana ka moa I ka ao o Alexander ka ino ke kahi moa. 4:30 ke kani ana ke la moa. No wana. Oh, waila. I said, he la I ho'omaka wau o kawa'a I hana I ka pua, I huki ka kalo, e mai ka pa hana I ka moa. That was the time I knew that it was for me to wake up to feed the pigs and the cows and the chickens. Before going into the taro patch to pull a few pounds of taro before so I could go to school. Where Kaupu would be teaching us early in the morning to clean our fingers before we walked into the classroom. We had to sing a song and we said a prayer. And my cousin John Kawai and I, we always had dirty fingers because we were the latest in the taro patch, and when we came out, we couldn't pass. So Kaupu would take the stick and he would whack us in the head and tell us to go back and clean out. And when we got into the classroom, we had to sing. We had to sing a song and pule. And if Kaupu was not feeling great about that, for some reason, because Because Mama gave him a hard time for driving 20 miles from Puko'o to Halawa. He would make us stand up and spell words. And I was the first to fall. Always. My brother was the last. That's why he went to Kamehameha School, because he was brighter than I. As a result of his going to Kamehameha School, he always asked me now, in this day and time, brother, tell me things about Hawaiian. In my current job at Kamehameha School, e ao ana wau no na po e kamali'i ma Kamehameha Pelapu hoi o na kamali'i ma Castle High School. Unuhi, your time, bro. I don't want you to fall asleep.
Sorry, I was sleeping already. No. Uncle was saying that now he's teaching at Kamehameha schools and also at Castle High School.
Yeah. A maleila no ka ao ana e pili ana no Hawaii. Ma ke kula o Castle High School Pelapu hoi o na kula Hawaii Kamehameha Pu.
So that's where he teaches about Hawaiian things at Castle and also at here at Kamehameha too.
Yeah. Ka uhana ke ia I ke ia manawa.
And this is his work at this time.
But aole e lava no ka wa, aole he lava ke la no ka ho'oponopono, no ka ho'ike aku, no ka ho'oma mua hua ka ike o na Hawaii.
But that's not enough for the full teaching of Ike Hawaii.
Mamuli loa, e hela na kakau nona po e Hawaii, e ike aku nona po e noho aku me nei. Oe po e Hawaii?
Right, before the people sitting
On the panel.
were not Hawaiians before.
Ke hia kakahi aka ke ike aku, nona po e I haihana he Hawaii.
But at this time, the people speaking are Hawaiians.
Hawaii. Mamua aku, no ka poe I hai ana mai ke iwa I a kako wapau nona poe Hawaii, mai ka olelo pele ka nia.
Before, these types of panels would be spoken in English.
I ke ia la, e ho'omaka ana hou ka olelo e pili ana nona poe kupuna, mai Hawaii ma ka olelo Hawaii.
So from today, we have teachings that are spoken in Hawaiian and from Hawaiians.
I ke imanawa, aole loa ka mau makahiki lo ihi loa. Ano pokole o kawa'a.
Kawa'a only has maybe 40 or 50 or 60 years left. So
Yeah. Makapo wale no. O ko umanawa pokole.
limited.
I ka ho'omaka hou o ko uhai ana, second round, make wau e haia oko ka hana I kawa'a I make wau e ho'olele I aku ia oko no ke ola o na Hawaii.
Oh, sorry. In the second round, so he was referring to the minutes left. He's gonna share with us the things that he wants to disseminate out to our communities.
Mahalo nui.
Mahalo.
Mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Our second question that we asked our panelists to share in any shape or form is, in 10 years, what would Hawaii look like if Goal 2 were fully actualized? So again, we'll start with Sabra.
Olelo Hawaii piha. Ma ke kula, ma ko home, ma ke kaiaulu, everywhere. Ma ko olelo Hawaii. I would hear it everywhere. I would hear it on the Kelipona when I call Hawaiian Airlines. I would hear it in the bank when I go in. Okay? I would hear it at the gas station. I would hear it all around me. Not just in Halipule, not just in Halau, not just in Kula, but na mea apau everywhere.
Aloha. Let's see. I was told not to be intellectual, so. I really think in 10 years, if we're successful, we would have a government that would be able to enforce the rights and wrongs against the multinational corporations and other nations that do not do right. We would have a government, and that takes a lot. It's going to take a lot for us to get there. So we got to get a lot of benchmarks. But really, I think that's what it's going to take to save us. Our planet is in a crisis, and we all know that. And it's not being acknowledged. And those with the money who have narrow interests, short-term interests rather than long-term interests, you know, our traditional wisdom, we have it all, like Kalekoa said and everyone shared before. We have the traditional wisdom that we can rely on to be successful and to help others. And there are other sisters and brothers of ours throughout the world that want to do similar thing. So to me, we really do need our own government, our own nation, whatever that looks like, one strong enough. You know, I think we should be like we were before. When I asked my auntie these questions, she said, we have to turn back the clock. We have to turn back the clock. She said just 30 years, but maybe we ought to turn it back some more. And be that the time when we were neutral, a neutral country, where belligerents weren't allowed to occupy us unfairly. Just like Switzerland, but Switzerland has the strength to defend itself at the same time. We need the strength to defend ourselves at the same time. And by doing all of this, we will be all the stronger. That way, we will have children with a strong sense of identity and a strong sense of place and a strong sense of ohana. And all those important values that we all know reside in our traditional wisdom, the kumulipo, the story of Haloa, the Ha. I don't need to repeat it to you, but I know that you know in your Ike that we have that. And that is, to me, part of our destiny. So, okay, I won't intellectualize anymore. We just have to be ourselves, really. We just have to come from our own epistemology, our own native wisdom, get it all back, reconnect. My students come with Defend Hawaii shirts on, and I ask them, what does that mean to you? But they really don't realize. They don't know what it is. They need to reconnect. And once they reconnect and really get down in the lo'i and really get down to understanding what it means to be Hawaiian, what it means to say that you are proud to be Hawaiian, once they really know that, then they are all the stronger for it. I believe our students need to have that strong sense of being Hawaiian before they can have the strong sense of being American. Because of what they've learned, the little bits and pieces they learn here and there, they have a hard time with that. They resist. They ku'e, right? So we have to ku'e holomua ea. And we need to do it every day. Mahalo.
I think, again, kind of language-wise, I think, going back to Hawaiian Studies 107, that's one of our core classes, that we teach. But one of the readings that I think has survived in most Hawaiian Studies 107 classes is from African writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And, I think one of the main reasons why is because it's pono, what he's saying. And it applies to Hawaiian language also, as to all languages. To me, if we can get to a pono state in language, that'll mean that we're not ashamed to speak Hawaiian, of course, but it'll also mean that we're not ashamed to speak English, and we're not ashamed to speak Pidgin, and we're not ashamed to speak any languages, as many languages as we can, because the pono usage of language is as a connector, and the more of the world that we can connect to, the better it will be. When we use language as it was used in Hawaii as the divider and the conqueror, that leads to bad things that we all are very familiar with. But I think we have to turn that around. Olelo is the key to our mo'olelo, and that's I think that's a very important thing. If we're I hesitate to say if we're successful. We already are successful, you know, in bringing our mo'olelo back. And I think that the next step in that success is to, as was said earlier, and I know it will be said again, is to apply. You know, how do we apply our mo'olelo to who we are today? And I would say that one of the main things from my perspective is we need to recognize the importance of food. You know, our kupuna put ai right in the center of their lives. Yeah, it wasn't called ai kapu for no reason at all. Food was right in the middle, and that's extremely important. I think we have to come back to that. We're pretty far from that today. If we cannot feed ourselves, we come from a very weak position. And right now we cannot. We have to move towards that. But I think, you know, again, we're successful already. We just got to keep on taking those steps.
I mo ka maka ho hiki ana ke la maka hiki he umi. No laila he ano hiki poko ke la ano mana'o. Yeah, 10 years is in a blink of an eye. Yeah, and seems like it gets faster and faster. However, planning is really important. Multiple strategies to get us where we're headed, because we're fighting many challenges, as been discussed earlier. But to mahuahua, to increase the impact of the good work that's happening really is important. And again, nakumu, yeah, we need to have our young people wanting to become educators. So we need to pai and ensure that when they get into a teacher education program, that there is a language and a cultural component to how they're being prepared. Because right now, that is not being, it's not encouraged. It's there in the books, but like many policies, without implementation and full implementation, there's kind of a haphazard way of looking at what teachers are coming out with. And the other end of that is that the Department of Education goes to the continent every year and brings in over 500 teachers into our schools. And that's a travesty because they don't stay, they're not here for the long run, and they don't have, for the most part, the best interests of our language and culture, you know. And that's really has to be the key of education, that we have the opportunities that we see and the successes that are coming out of our Punana Leo, our Kula Ho'amana, our public charter schools, the Hawaiian-focused charter schools, the Kula Kaya Puni Hawaii. But as long as we are under the mandates of American ideals of what education is, and the non-recognition, that they don't recognize the importance of language and culture. So looking at how, when we're talking self-determination, when we're talking autonomy in education, it's a different pathway that we need to take. Yeah, we've started it. Our seeds have been planted. So encourage your young people to become teachers, because that really will be the future, that we can start schools in every communities. Right now, people, after 30 years of Punana Leo, are still having to commute long distances because they don't have a neighborhood or community facility to offer language for the families. Yeah, so there's a lot of work to do. Yeah, we want to be able to have access to our language, access to our culture, and I don't envy Kau'i saying having to be in a system that really resists change, you know, in many ways. So we need to support her. We need to support Kako'o until we make our own system. Yeah, so it's little baby steps, but to be very clear that what exists now is just the beginning. Yeah, we need to continue to transform the whole landscape of education to reflect who we are. Yeah, so there's a lot of work. And again, I applaud the work from the Punana Leo, the Kulakaya Puni, and each and every kumu, each and every family, because they've made that commitment, yeah, to create for their own families, their own children, and their communities, a new way of, an old way, yeah, of going back to having a language and cultural foundation in addition to any academic, yeah, but we're very clear that that foundation is pa'a. Yeah, we can do anything. Yeah, and so we really are repairing the generations. One of the things that we've been hearing about is both in Canada with the Aboriginal people there, as well as in Australia, and how the governments there have taken it upon themselves through working with the Native people and have apologized and have created ways to rectify the past of how their language and culture of the Native peoples have been suppressed. Our kupuna has not even had that privilege. Our kupuna, many who are still with us, who were subjected to Act 57, yeah, and all of us too, because we're all results of that, yeah, of not having that continuity. So one of the things perhaps the Aupuni can do is to, while we still have our kupuna with us, is to make a sincere apology and to find the ways to resource of how that can be rectified, yeah, and to make our future a very different time than what they had experienced. So it's something to consider perhaps as we move forward.
Mahalo aloi no na po e kupuna I hele na mai. This thing on? Yeah, it's on. No na po e kupuna I hele na mai. O ko umana o hawali wau ka iki ana no na po e Hawaii, koko Hawaii. Me ke aloha Hawaii I a o ana ya kako wapau. I am so delighted to see there are so many young people with PhDs. Yeah. No moloka I mai, they call it piled higher and deeper. Going to add one more, knowledge. Nona po e apau I loa ka PhD, o kako no I ko kako mau loina, he Hawaii no I loko kela ka iki no mako. Hele hoi hope a kako e iki aku ka hano ka po e ka hiko. We all have PhD knowledge. We have to go back and we have to look for it. Ikeia manako ano ele makule vau. I am at the point in time where I am close. Uahala o Richard Paglinawan. Yeah? Uahala o Richard Paglinawan. Uao ia o Richard Paglinawan, mai kona ohana, mai waihole mai, apukana mai makekula nui. He was born and raised by his father and grandparents and learned the ways of his ancestors in Waihole. Uhele oe makekula nui ke loa nei ka palapala, aule palapala sila nui. Palapala sila nui is PhD, gang. Okay? Everybody say palapala? Sila nui. Ke loa nei ka masters. Uhala oia me ka ike Hawaii. Who then will take his place? Is the question for us. Who then will teach his place? No oko I aoana na po e kamali'i ma ka olelo Hawaii, ma ka mana'o Hawaii, aole lava ke la, aole lava. To have the intellectual knowledge, it is not enough. E ha ana I loko ka olelo Hawaii, ma ka ha o ka olelo Hawaii. We must breathe life into the language ke olane. It's like this. A young father says to his son, not like that. He's taking a carving class from me. And I said to him, brother, you missed a grand opportunity to relate to your son. When you said, don't do it like that, ua pa'a ka ike, ua pa'a ka pu'uwai. His head and his heart went somewhere else. Yeah? Ua pa'a. Olelo ako yaya. I said to him, That moment will never come again. Wahala, it's gone. You missed an opportunity. I'm going to Ha. That's where I'm going, gang. Stay with me. I'm going to Ha. He said, you will never have that opportunity. Olelo ako yaya, brother, try it like this. All the men say it. Brother. Are there men in this group? I know I will get it from the women. So the women will say, sister, say it. Sister. Kane, we still have to learn from the Wahinex. So guys, quickly. Brother, do it like this. I said to him, that's what you must say to your son. Brother, do it like this. That opportunity, I said to him, will never come again, Papa. You lost that opportunity. That Papa right there in front of me cried. He cried. That's the level at which we who are teaching Hawaiian must go to next. That's the world I want to teach in your students. Yeah. Why is vai? Vai means rich in Hawaiian, but the word vai does not mean rich in English. The word pu'uvai means heart, but the word pu'uvai does not mean heart. So hiala ka vai iloko ka hu'olelo, ihaawi mai ya kākou mai na po e kupuna. Why did our ancestors keep for us in language the gems? O kākou no ko kākou mahana. Yeah. That's the world I want to be in. Kamehameha School has embarked upon a language program that all of its students and all of its parents will become a part of. That's part of the building blocks. No napo'i alakai, no napo'i Hawaii, no napo'i kamali'iya. And for all of those of you who teach our children and teach other children Hawaii, mahalo.
Mahalo to our panelists. So this is the time we want to take any questions that you have for our panelists. Lily? And then, oh, yeah. Aye.
Okay. So now that the DOE has 40% Hawaiian children, would it be appropriate for this conference to call now for our own Hawaiian Board of Education and our own Hawaiian school system supported by the public school monies? What do you think?
So the question was, now that we have 40% of our DOE students Hawaiian, and we have an Office of Hawaiian Education, is this the time to think about our own Hawaiian Board of Education, funded with public funds and monies, and our own school system? So your mana'o about this time.
Okay, so I heard that. Hello. That was one of the goals of the NHEC, the Native Hawaiian Education Council. It was goal number 3, and it was buried because it was considered to be a radical goal. That's what I heard from Ku Kahakala. I don't know. She was. I tried to do research to understand because I'm very new to this education summit. And the question to me would be, how would we make this a win-win situation for the DOE as well as ourselves, and where they're making strides, but again, it feels like you're bucking the head against the wall, and I guess there were teachers before us that feel like they're bucking the head against the wall, but they're doing their job. I mean, they're trying to do their job. So I think it would be wonderful if we could have sovereignty over the education of our children, like we should, right? Execute that authority of our children. But at the same time, others want to come along with us, so they need to listen. And I think our school is majority Hawaiian, but not all Hawaiian. And is Hawaiian in DNA, or is it culture? Because I know Haoles or others that act more Hawaiian than some Hawaiians. So in trying to be inclusive, like Queen Liliuokalani did, I think we need to figure out how we can have a win-win situation where the DOE can be what it should be to our students, as well as other students, and as well as not missing out on the 75,000 or more children that are very disconnected and not benefiting in that program now. So that's the problem we have to solve. How are we going to do it?
Any other mana'o from our panelists about that question?
I think the question is a simple question, and the answer that she's looking for is either yes or no. So you have to answer the question out there whether you're going to be part of it or not be part of it. That's what she's asking for. She's skillful in asking the question.
Mahalo.
Yeah. Pehela ko au ikahema au ikakau pela pa hoi hopelo. We have stood in the back enough. We have an army to move forward. We have a great deal of people with PhDs and MSWs. We have an array of students and we have an array of school. Should we move forward? The answer is yes.
Mahalo. So we have one question that came in. The question is for Liko. In your studies of religion, where is the Hawaiian ike? Kupuna say, when Hawaiians pray in Hawaiian, the heavens quake. So in your studies of religion, where is the Hawaiian ike?
Yeah, mahalo for the question. I'm probably the least qualified to to answer. To me, in some ways, we cannot separate Hawaiian ike from other ike. And part of my perspective of our kupuna is that when they ask for something, either from a person or from Kiakua, they did that with as pure intent as they could. And to me, that's Hawaiian ike. When you ask a question, or when you ask for help, you ask with sincerity, and when you ask in that way, the answer will come in that way too. And I think that's for me. I believe that's what Hawaiian ike is. I don't think that we as Hawaiians are any different than anybody else, but we are a people, yeah, and we are a people with a voice, and we regaining that voice, and I think that's to me one of the challenges is that when we in our quest to regain our kanaka-ness, as I said earlier, our voice. There was a reason why that voice was attacked, and that reason has not disappeared in a sense. And to me, what we have to do is to help people, and help ourselves to recognize that even though our voice and our Hawaiianness was attacked, that doesn't mean that it's not there. We still have that identity, and it's still important for us to connect to our kupuna, as it is for everybody. It's important for all people to do that.
Well, I want to mahalo Liko and mahalo the panel for helping to provoke some thinking for our next activity, which will be a facilitated session